You have time, and that is finite. That's a done deal. You're going to only live to this level. The other thing you have is energy, and that is what you can influence. Getting out of the fog of drinking all the time, you get to see perfect timing. It's our job to educate. Yeah. And when they say, do these have alcohol? I said, no, wellness means no alcohol. You got 99 problems, curcumin will solve 99 of them. You get to a new level of efficiency and functionality. The whole mission is how we can enhance your health.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Upward Spiral podcast, where we explore the power of positive change and continuous improvement to help you create a life of momentum and fulfillment. I'm your host, Michelle O'Brien, and I'm thrilled that you're here today. In today's episode, we're diving deep into a topic that's really close to my heart, the power of functional beverages to unlock your potential and fuel your upward spiral. So if you're someone who is passionate about personal growth, peak performance, and living a life of purpose, then this episode is for you. Just like many of you, I used to rely on things that weren't necessarily serving me to get me through the day. But through my own journey of quitting drinking and embracing a healthier lifestyle, I've discovered that true energy and focus come from within. And that's why I'm so excited to introduce you to our incredible guest today. He is a yogi, a freediver, an ex-PT coach, and a successful entrepreneur who's revolutionizing the beverage industry. He's the founder of Aya Drinks and the former CEO of East Imperial. And let me tell you, his energy is contagious. His vision is really inspiring, and his achievements are truly remarkable. Please welcome the incredible, the insightful, the one and only Kevin Law-Smith. Kevin, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming down to Singapore and for being here.
Thank you. It was a great intro and a great story from your opening and how you've kind of changed and seen the energy within. It's a big, big difference. And getting that kind of clear and clean energy is just remarkable.
Oh, yeah. And totally unexpected, if I'm being honest. Like, it wasn't, I think because I never knew. I can't remember life before alcohol.
Yeah.
and that's why the podcast exists. Because I just want people to know and hear about how incredible the transformation can be. Yeah. And maybe when you remove things that aren't so good for you.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great starting point, I think, just because. And now it's, I think, a lot more coming across Instagram, all of the different celebs and these types of things. Like do you think they can do it? I can't. They're celebs. I'm in the F&B community. I'm a bartender. I can't. But you really can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's get into your origin story. Just tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got here.
I think I just start with Aya and how we started that. And then I think later in the podcast, we can get to other beverages, but always been in the beverage world. So from Diageo for many years and innovation there, then starting my own company with East Imperial here in Singapore. And now with Aya again, all of the kind of the tech is coming from here. But the inspiration is when I was younger, I had cancer, and that, just researching, understanding what will stop the next cancer. So you'd go through all this radiation, chemo, fantastic, you're cleared. I did all at Mount Elizabeth here. I was in there every 3 months doing my blood work, big tests, CAT scans every 6 months for 4 years. And that what was going to be the next one, they said, this is great, you're clear, you don't have to come anymore, but this will be your next cancer. And always researching what kind of plant-based ingredients could I use that will be kind of anti-cancer in a simple format. And green tea and turmeric just kept showing up. And then you have blue zones, you have a lot more research. And in Okinawa, of course, it's green tea, cold green tea, and turmeric is one of the daily drinks that they have. And it's a blue zone with many people over 100 years old. And so I was always mixing it at home again in the kitchen. Mixing turmeric is not a fun thing. This yellow hands just destroying all the equipment. And having, needing 4 cups of green tea to get to the levels of the catechinins, the real free radical fighters. It takes 4 cups of green tea. So always making it at night and then drinking in the morning. And had that for 12 years and started the other business in the drinks industry with East Imperial. And as we grew that business, getting more and more unfit, getting larger and larger, more inflammation, more swelling, up to 100 kilos. And I knew that just, it could be an age thing, it could be just a health thing. I'd really, really put everything into this business. I had no more. Like broken Achilles, broken toe, broken back, weighing over 100 kilos, sometimes at 110 kilos, running Gin Jubilee events, jet lagged, drinking from noon to night. That at 50, I wanted to get rid of this business and move on to the wellness space. And the wellness space was starting to get more and more attractive. I had this drink in my mind. My good friends in the lab knew about this drink from back then. We'd looked at it 12 years ago. There's no way, because turmeric is not soluble whatsoever. So you've got to put all this GARs and gums to make it soluble. But the technology had moved on so far in those 12 years. So in 2019, my business partner and good friend Eric and I started looking at this, and the technology really caught up. So it makes the turmeric soluble, makes it bioavailable for your body, and a game changer. So you're getting a turmeric in your body 24 times more active than you would just have the powders or a tea. Wow. And then the green tea, the water extraction, that gives you the 50 milligrams of the catechinins that are the really antioxidant fighters. And so we were able to make the drink not easy. Mm-hmm. 3 years of failure, making it in the factories, getting microbial damage, getting yeast, getting, making kombucha by accident, making beer by accident. We'd sit there and wait, and you can't speed these kind of trials out. Mm-hmm. So 3 months, 6 months, and you just see the tests and the numbers going up in terms of the numbers we don't want to see, and we'd have to stop the test. So changing production partners, changing the recipe, changing the process. So we were finally to be able to launch just April this year with, we tested one batch throughout the year before, making sure everything was perfect, and then launching here and Thailand April this year into the market.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I've got so many questions and so many things
4 years later.
Back in that. I want to actually go back a little bit though to like your lifestyle actually. So let me get this right. You had cancer, you went through treatment, you came out of the other side, started to try to figure out ways of living and what you were consuming to make sure that the cancer wouldn't return. But then you started a company. As the company got bigger, the stress, I'm sure, got greater. So more stress, maybe more unhealthy habits due to limiting time and everything else. What was going through your head at that point? Were you panicking that maybe you weren't living the healthiest life and that you could...
You don't even know it because you're just so on all the time. So there's thousands of emails to do. There's just a Gin Jubilee to be run, and gathering the 50 venues, 50 bartenders, 50 photographers, everyone onto the streets. There was so much to do all the time. So you're just going, and I'm busy, and you're flying and busy. And an entrepreneur, you're doing. And the more you do, the more you're achieving, and the better you should feel. Yeah. And you're making the company bigger, and you're going to new markets and new outlets, and volumes are going up. So you're just kind of driven by that, and lose sight of balance of what is life about. Could you do less? And you don't think you can do less. You're just driven to make more markets, and there's kind of benchmarks or achievements that you set for yourself that I got to get that. And then you blow through that, and then it's the next one. And as you do more, the time gets less and less of you actually taking care of yourself, because you're on a plane, then you're jet lagged, and you have that jet lag power. So you're up at 3 a.m. in Singapore, or you're up at 3 a.m. in Miami, and you can do all your work and then hit the bars at 11 o'clock and go from 11 to 11 o'clock at night, and see everybody, and then wake up again at 4 in the morning. Then you're back on the plane, and you haven't lost a minute and you just do keep doing that, then you slowly, nature's ingredients, your body will tell you that you're dehydrated, Achilles heels goes. And I see it with the friends. And then I was still exercising, still running stairs, still trying, and living in between, Miami and here. Still not completely out of shape, but knowing that I was heading in that direction. And when the Achilles went and then I broke my toe, I couldn't even keep up with my staff in China running around 3 cities and 3 Gin Jubilees, that it had to stop. Like it had to start slowing down. So 2019 was the last one of Gin Jubilee. It's like, okay, I need to step back. And it wasn't so much, I guess, the drinking side, because you have such fun with the community.
Yeah.
It's this massive community that gets together, and Diageo does it so well, world class, 50 best restaurants, 50 best bars. It's so social and such a community. And what drives is like there's this passion for everyone who's in that community. They love what they're doing. It's not like going to the office. Like everyone is like so creative, and they love what they're doing, and they're growing in their way. And on the side, there's a lot of alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. To me, it sounds equally exhausting but thrilling. And I'm a person who will always be taking on more and more and more and more and more, because with every achievement, every box ticked, every milestone comes dopamine hits. And I'm starting to realize I'm addicted to doing stuff. I'm addicted. But at some point, and I'm working with a coach at the moment who's like, you're not going to be able to reach the next level. You're not going to be able to do what you succeed at what you want to do if you don't stop. If you don't start saying no and slowing down. And okay, yes, health, but you're not going to achieve what you want if you don't revisit it and start to look at it all.
And we're lucky and unlucky with COVID because it slowed things down. So that was the year, and then always have a major athletic goal, and that was the headstand at 50, and me at 110 kilos headstand was going to break something horrible. And then we went to the islands and at Bantalay in Koh Tao, and went to the first yoga class. And so I got to get back into yoga. I'm so broken and swollen. And the first class, he's like, we're going to do the king of asanas. We're going to do headstands. And we look back at the wall, and he's like, we're not using the wall. And so I was like, why? This is amazing coincidence that this is the first class. I knew there was going to be yoga there, and this was my click on 50, you better lose this at least 10 kilos. And then it was, onto that journey. And you're at the right place, right time. The teacher comes to you, type of thing that they say in yoga. And then, COVID hit, and we're like, wow, that's perfect timing. You could be failing at your business. You could be the perfect timing. It is what it is. Present moment. It's perfect. And it's how you reframe it all. And getting out of the fog of drinking all the time, you get to see perfect timing.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, we get to sell the business. We get to get into this in a resort atmosphere with people who will be our core customer, our core community. And we built the brand during that period with the same kind of love and fever and passion that you would have that we had for the drinks community.
Yeah. And
now it just kind of changed to this health and wellness community. And then you get an element of just that seeker searching in this community, where it's not just doing yoga. It's like you're really balancing your life, 8 limbs of yoga. And that's like, wow, there's so much more out there than how many arms this different communities can have. And that was just a super eye-opener.
And how supportive everyone is. Everyone wants to rise together. Everyone wants to help each other. Like it's blown me away as well. So after Eastern Imperial, you stopped drinking around then as well?
Beer loves me. And I love beer. And I'm always brewing, and then COVID brewing.
Nice.
And there was just a transition even you see the Netflix of be a vegetarian, you're going to have more energy. And I tried that for 3 days and I was bloated as ever and gave up. But then just as awareness, and awaken your awareness, as awareness came more, I just started eating less meat, drinking less, feeling lighter, feeling way more energy, feeling like the shutters have been lifted a bit. Again and again, so not in a fog. And so it got less and less. And that's, even that's been 4 years. Then now to the point where it doesn't serve any purpose. And that's where the functional drinks come in. If I'm going to drink something at a bar, I want some functionality out of it. Yeah. And it can all come from nature's own ingredients without the alcohol.
And this is what I was saying to you just off air, is when I started kind of my journey and decided, okay, I don't want to drink anymore, I'd wound it down. I really had. I wasn't drinking a lot, a couple of drinks a week max. But I wanted that sense of connection with people. And so being able to have a non-alcoholic alternative in my hand was great. And that was a massive bridge for me. So for the first 6 months, first year, they were my crutch. I relied quite heavily on a non-alc wine, beer, non-alc gin and tonic, just to feel just to have mirror people, have that connection, feel included, and just help me not think about it anymore. Take any sort of kind of craving away. But the more I got into it, the more I started thinking and starting looking a bit more closely at what I was drinking. And now I've never been a fizzy drinker ever. I was that weird child that didn't like McDonald's, didn't like KFC.
Our daughter,
didn't like fizzy drinks. Which in hindsight is actually just so brilliant. I'm so grateful for that. But, I did start to look at the non-alcoholic alternatives and what was in them and realized, okay, they're not all created equal. Yeah. Quite a lot of them do have a lot of sugar in them. But actually a lot don't. And, so I think it's really just looking at the labels and questioning what is sugar masking. Yeah. So if you've got a non-alcoholic wine and it's loaded with sugar, it's probably because it was a bad wine to begin with. Yeah. Whereas if you've got a good non-alcoholic wine, it should have not a lot of sugar in it at all. Yeah. And because they started with a good wine, they don't need to mask anything. Yeah. But that did get me thinking, okay, if I'm going to drink something, I want to drink something that's going to be good for me. And aside from kombucha, there isn't a lot out there. Okay, water, obviously. Sparkling water and kombucha. That's probably it. And I was like, where are all the drinks that are going to give me, that are still sophisticated and I want to drink on an evening, but that are going to give me something more?
That word sophisticated is right on. So when we do a dark cafe, very nice cafe in Thailand, they don't call it mocktails because they know how sophisticated the drinks are. It's holy basil, it's mint, it's pineapple, it's cucumber. It's pre-made, batched in our cocktail language. That base is batched and then put with Aya, and it's an incredible level of flavors. Yeah. And we elevate the mocktail to a place where it's a wellness cocktail. And it's there, on the cocktail menu and a section. And there was lots of pushback. You got to call it, you got to say no alcohol. You got to say, it's and luckily, Philip, one of the founders of Dark, said, no, it's our job to educate. Yeah. And when they say, do these have alcohol? I said, no, wellness means no alcohol.
There's a restaurant group here called the Dandy Collection. And in it, they've got Ferengi Superstar and Neon Pigeon, and their cocktail menus are amazing. And Michael, kind of one of the co-founders, he doesn't drink, and he wanted it to be completely inclusive. So when you read the cocktail menu, all the cocktails are laid out, it's beautiful. And then just next to it, they've got a little note to tell you whether it's half proof, full proof, or 0 proof. Yeah. They're completely mixed in with each other. You're choosing a drink based on the flavor, based on what it sounds like, what's appealing to you, not whether it has or hasn't got alcohol in it. Yeah. And I love that. Feeling completely inclusive, not shuffling my way to the back of a menu to see if they've got anything non-alcoholic. Yeah. That's the future to me.
And it's really just in terms of different buyers for different supermarkets and doing trips to the States and to Australia, where it's it's one beer by full hop IPA could be 6 and 7, 8% ABV, and then the next one will be a non-alcohol one. So there's just longevity in your drinking and socializing, and you feel great in the morning. So you can still drink and just everyone's just, which is insight for me that people are just splitting it up a lot more. So instead of having the 6 beers, they're having maybe 3 only or 2, and then mixing it up with the non-alcohols, and it's just 1 for 1.
And I love this, and I can't remember the most recent stats, but I think it's something like only 10% of people who drink non-alcoholic alternatives completely abstain from alcohol. Actually, people who are drinking non-alcoholic drinks, they're just not drinking on that night or not drinking for that drink. Like you said, they're alternating, or they're experimenting or trying something different, or choosing something because it sounds great and it's something that they're craving and they want, rather than whether or not it's got alcohol in it. And I thought it was really interesting that so many people are becoming more open to it as well. I want to get more into the functionality side. Oh, sorry, just before I do, actually, I just wanted to say, I saw you guys on the menu at the Four Seasons. Okay, I was at the Four Seasons bar the other week, and I took a picture and I meant to text you and I didn't. I've just seen you on the bar. And that for me was like, yes, you know?
Yeah, we really want to publicize that, and our team here, Rachel, really pushed that through, and we showed lots of the different menus. And Gabrielle, who used to be at Manhattan Bar, he knows me from way back when, and he was a super help, and the whole team was great getting it together. And they just had an event, super surprised that they had our non-alcohol, and then they expect 75% of the drinks would be alcohol, spritzes. It was the other way around. So they had to race back to the bar and start, batching again all the Aya drinks. And he said it's just incredible to see. And we're getting that again at different Soho House events where they've done 50-50, and they said, the Aya just takes over, and there's only 20% of actually drinking.
And I went to a party not that long ago, a party I was way too cool to be at, and they had there's a brand here called Bougie Botanicals, and a guy called Brandon, he kind of makes kombuchas and makes these elixirs, and the elixirs went, they were gone, and then the non-alc beers were gone. All the non-alc went way before the alcohol went,
Amazing.
And it just shows there's a change, it's a shift, which is really exciting.
I'm just so enthralled by the younger generation too, especially their super high-powered jobs, head of marketing, for Goda or different things, doing amazing marketing, like we just did the Dragonfly Fest, and that whole team putting that together. Then, on the weekends, they're at 7 a.m. sound baths. They're doing yoga. They're running another program for someone else, or with their friends, or doing a Ayurvedic course, or I show up at a course to do a talk, and there's 2 of the 3 people who have serious day jobs. They're not sleeping in. They're all, in Bangkok. Everyone's late. They're there at 10:30 in the morning. That they don't have a world of, oh, I'm so hungover, I'm waking up at 11, I'm getting a cheeseburger. Yeah, and they are like fulfilling, learning. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's like the next generation, my daughter, and then the one above is it's so inspiring, and how much they're kind of searching and looking and giving time to themselves. And one of the speakers at the Dragonfly Festival was Sadhguru, and he's got this thing where you have time, and that is finite. That's a done deal. You're going to only live to this level. The other thing you have is energy, and that is what you can influence. And everything that we kind of do is around, energy is a huge category that is around that vital energy piece. Yeah. And that's, Sadhguru can be through nutrition, could be from yoga, from all these things. And that elevation of energy is where I see the young really getting into that and seeing that energy without alcohol. And that's something that how we can enhance each person's vital energy.
I interviewed a girl called Holly and on the podcast a while back, and we just did a podcast around kind of Gen Z drinking behaviors. I learned so much from her. I came out of it and was like, oh my gosh, I need to do all this work around my values. But she basically said to me that they're really, that her and her friends are very clear on their values. Like they've set out very early as like what's important to them. And obviously this can change and evolve as they grow up, but you know, what's important to them. And then they'll look at an event or an experience, whether it involves drinking, let's say, and they'll say, okay, first of all, does it align with my values? Is this something that is important to me and I want to experience? And if the answer is yes, then okay, great. Then the next three things she looks at is her currencies. And she's got three currencies: her money, her time, and her energy.
Wow.
And so she will then say, okay, if I go to this experience, if I decide to drink, it's going to cost me a lot of money. Like alcohol's not like it was when we were young.
Yeah.
It's expensive. So she's like, is this how I want to spend my money when that's going to take away from other things that I might want to do? Is this how I want to spend my evening, my time, versus doing something else that might, you know, fulfill another value or another growth? But she's that energy, and she's very aware of, okay, what's the energy going to take the evening, but where am I going to be taking energy from for the next day? What's the knock-on effect of this?
Wow.
And I'm just sat there going, you're in your early 20s. I was like, you're so wise. I was like, if I'd have known this back then.
Wow.
Yeah, imagine.
Seriously, wow.
Yeah. So it's great. I've got a lot of hope. And for my kids, I'm just excited. Excited to see them, see where it goes.
But it is a heck of a journey for our generation, and you know, more and more people I speak to, and then of course we're very in the bar industry. You'd see a bit of a change there, but there's still a lot of people who aren't aware of that there's other choices, and you're not caught in the rat race. Yeah.
So let's actually go back to the functional side. I want to know, maybe let's not talk about Aya just at this point, but functional drinks, functional ingredients. Like, what is a functional ingredient?
Yeah. No, it's good because caffeine is a great functional ingredient.
Yeah.
Does lots of things. So you kind of a lot around energy, and then a lot around giving you energy. So there's that type of functionality. Then a lot around hydration. What's going to give you hydration? So we kind of look at energy first, good energy, clean energy. Then look at hydration, because if you're not hydrated, nothing's going to work. It's not going to be a supplement. You need to have that liquid. And then the different kind of day parts of what ingredients would impact that. So be it, morning, lunch, nighttime, the functionality of different ingredients that could help in those areas. And all of your kind of bodily functions. So if it's gut health, and that's one where your microbiome, so different ingredients, the great prebiotics, then the fermented things around the probiotics. And then getting into, the ashwagandhas, and getting into the I wouldn't say, more esoteric, all the mushrooms that are coming a lot quicker. Everything is saying it gives you all these different aspects. And we're in the same trap, because curcumin, you got 99 problems, curcumin will solve 99 of them.
Yeah.
or turmeric. And it's kind of weaving through all of that, what it can actually do for you and how you actually feel.
Yeah.
So there's, you start with the traditional Ayurvedic, which I go back to that kind of tradition. And growing up in Korea, of course, the kimchi tradition. Yeah. And I look at that, and turmeric is in the Rasiana field of the ingredients. So you have the roots, and you have the gingers, and then you also have all the peppers, you have all the different things. And from that, and the traditions of around the teas, what do those two ingredients do for you? And then you go on to cherries and blueberries and superfoods and these types of things. But we're kind of using the traditional ingredients, bringing the added science of what's happened really since mRNA, since the vaccine. There's been so much more calibration of ingredients, as well as, it's a word we stay away from, is bioavailable. But what does that mean? It's just absorbed into your body. Yeah. So looking for ingredients, and traditionally everyone knows it. So the Indian curry is with fat and mixed in a curry, and India has you could be a lot of people who look unwell, but heart health is through the roof. So there's no calcification of the heart, where the U.S. is complete opposite. where, look unwell and a massive calcification. And they look to what is the one ingredient that's so different, it being turmeric. So the heart health, and then, back to Okinawa, looking at what's different here, it's this green tea that everyone's drinking. And it's not new because it's thousands of years tradition. It's now bringing it into this kind of lifestyle where it can help you in a very bioavailable way, and look through all the different smoke and mirrors of all the different ingredients, being what we always say, complete transparency. So you got to taste great, and we have to be transparent because you don't know where the passion fruit's coming, where's the turmeric coming from. Of course, coconut water being one of the most functional beverages out there. Yeah. Being transparent of exactly where it came from, and transparent to what our clinical studies are, what are out there, what patents are out there, and then calibrating it on the can. And of course, FDA around the world, that's exactly what's in the can, and making sure that's the case.
The testing, right?
Yeah.
Continual testing.
Yeah.
There's so much out there at the moment. And I think where I struggle, like from between the drinks and the supplement space, there is so much talk about, functional ingredients, adaptogens, nootropics. Everyone's got a different point of view. Everything's 1 minute, everyone is saying this is really good for you. And then the next minute there's backlash against it. Someone else is saying something different. The influencer economy that we've currently got isn't helping that either, because people are being paid to say these things and you don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
Like how can we, is there one, I don't know, for lack of a better word, one source that we can trust? Yeah. I'm even questioning the FDA at this point, to be fair.
Yeah. Especially,
especially with recent events. But like what, like how do we know? I know we've got the history, but how do we know what of all of these incredible ingredients from the past or things that are newly discovered? How can we figure out what to take?
Well, it's true with FDA because the supplements aren't regulated. Because our FDA in Thailand, of course, is another level, and you'll see the Thai sticker when you're there, down to the percentage of each ingredient that's been tested in there. And no alcohol extractions, no. So anything that we have to use goes through that process much harder than we expected. Unbelievable. Yeah. And then the level of manufacturing that we have, the highest level can sell to Whole Foods, and it's called the BRC. So you have that kind of regulatory around, say, supplements is tough because FDA is not looking at it. Lots of people not looking at it. So certain countries they are, and they're complete transparency. So England is one where every ingredient has to be on the package of supplement. I think it's the only one.
Yeah.
So if you have sub-ingredients, they don't have to be listed.
Yeah, I was really shocked to find out Singapore, that quite frankly regulates absolutely everything, doesn't regulate supplements at all in any way. And that shocked me because we almost see supplements as medication,
Yeah, like pharmaceutical, nutraceutical. Yeah. I think it's only Australia and India have now made that classification so that this is a nutraceutical. And we try to get under the supplements, but supplements are only in pill form in Singapore. But we're using the same grade ingredients that go into supplements.
Yeah.
But it is difficult. And, from a personal experience, if I look at the podcast rock stars of Dr. Huberman, Dr. Italia, guys who've written the books, who are doctors, who just study this, living the lifestyle and testing the lifestyle, there's always an anomaly where they're getting paid a lot to do certain things, and you find out about that just recently. But in general, you can read those books, see what they're using, and then the final thing, which just goes with how it makes you feel. So I can, popping all these turmeric supplements, there's no difference. And I didn't realize it because it's not bioavailable. There's the curcumin is only, 2 to 3% of the turmeric root. Everything, even if it says 1,500 grams, 95% curcumin, it's a euphemism. They've actually just, there's not much in it. And it's not bioavailable to your body. So getting through that, and then those famous podcast people talking about that, seeing what they use, seeing what athletes are using that you see them offline using.
Yeah.
Then making kind of a decision. I still don't know about protein, and I'm so deep in this that I worked for Coca-Cola and Fonterra for 4 years looking at protein, and everyone telling me I need this many grams, and as a vegetarian I'm like, oh, great, that's a lot. But then you look at the Mediterranean, they're not there, and then you have other people saying it really depends on how you feel, and if you're feeling the benefits, then you continue. But it's kind of narrowing down a lot around those doctors, the clinical research studies, questioning each of those influencer, and really seeing what they're using, and it's not the 5 seconds on their feed, and then trying the product and kind of you feel the difference.
Yeah, I think a lot of the products that are true will explain the science as well. Like you go to their website and you look, there are some cowboy brands that I'm sure have got some good graphs, but you can go on and you can quite quickly get a feel for, okay, where has this come from? What's the brand story? What's the science behind it? How transparent are they being on the ingredients? Yeah. What's this going to do to you? Then kind of using that against some of the reviews. Are things marrying up? And trying it.
It was funny when, just as a demonstration, so we always have to tip twice to awaken, because there might be sediment. But when we launched, it's so yellow that we were like, oh my goodness, this, is anyone really going to drink this? Yeah. It's fluorescent, it's illuminating. And
like an orange juice.
That's 100% the sun's energy. Curcumin is yellow as can be. And so you have this right away when we look at other drinks that say turmeric or this, and it comes out brown, or it comes out very light. You're like, wow, there's not much going on in there. You need to be this, anything that's really going to make a difference in terms of your inflammation or different functions, it's going to be this yellow. And that, for us, that biophotonic energy of the sun is just put in the can, and it's all plant-based, and nature knows what you need, and that goes back to the adaptogens, where it knows that the adaptogen will be used for this type of stress that you don't even know that's what's happening inside your body. And then with the green tea and the turmeric, I just no research to it, but my body's not stressed out fighting all these things now. The drink is kind of taking care of that my energy level has gone through the roof without the green tea having any caffeine. There's B12. I took B12 supplements all the time, every afternoon, nothing. But now in this mix with B12, B6, the Bs, and that high level of green tea, you just get another level of kind of that Zen energy.
So how have you got the green tea in here without the caffeine?
Yeah, so it's very, very much like when you're steeping tea. So it's steeped and steeped and steeped. So water extraction. So the fourth cup of tea, you're going to have less caffeine in it, but you still have the vital catechinins in it. And they're just doing that at a massive scale with the green tea powder. And they still have the only patent on this.
Wow. Okay, so let's get into Aya a little bit more, because I want to know exactly what each of these different drinks will do. Do they all do the same thing? Or do they do something different? Right now,
every drink we have under the Aya range will have the same level of turmeric. So based on that the clinical studies that have been done, needing the 300 milligrams of the Turmeric Pure Gold. So using that pharmaceutical grade, medical grade turmeric, and bringing much more of the curcumin. So we're 30% curcumin in the drink. So 2 cans, you'll get the 30% curcumin. And then the green tea, the same, where it's calibrated just so you get exactly the 4 cups of green tea, the 50 milligrams of the catechinins. And then it's, depending on who you are, what you're feeling, and I wouldn't believe it either, but I'm sleeping on my shoulder, I'm so much in pain, I'm sleeping in the same bed, I think I need the shoulder surgery, gone. Hip pain gone. Like all of those little things. Granted, I went from 100 kilos to 77 kilos at the same time, but all of that, those pains go away. And try a new sport or do surfing or do Pilates or something. It's just like no pain.
Yeah,
like it just so alleviates so much of that stress. And then in terms of the telomeres and all this new science that's coming out, and then Dr. Rodna, who talks about your brain-derived neuropathic factor.
Yeah.
So the BDNF of being able to almost revitalize those proteins and neurons being created, telomeres getting longer, Alzheimer's going, and so you have this brain health, which you know a lot about, around curcumin. And then you have this green tea around heart health, metabolism, plus the curcumin in terms of the calcification, metabolism speeding up. These two together, in the way from the history of cancer to now, and then adding the B12 and you just have all your kind of vitals taken care of and energizing all of your neurons to the point where I give it to our distributor. I'm like, you're going to be cutting your hair every 2 weeks. Just wait. And then I'll come back in 2 weeks. He's like, you will not believe. Got to cut my nails. I got to cut my hair.
Okay.
That's
enough for it too. Right? You've sold me there on hair growth. It's been 3 years since my last child, and my hair, I still feel like I've got half a head of hair. So you talk about all those health benefits. As soon as you say hair and nails, you go, everyone's like, that's it. Can you overdose on this?
They did a lot of tests because Japan was one of the first countries, a lot around anti-hangover because of anti-inflammation. And all of that inflammation really is cell damage. Mm-hmm. And the less inflammation you have, the less cell damage. So you're kind of glowing from the inside out.
Yeah.
That's what kind of sparkling sunshine. And that pounding headache of just stretching your brain against your head, more or less, is inflammation. So in Japan, they have all the inflammation drinks based on turmeric. And so they tested at 8, 9, 10 grams of, say 8,000 milligrams, and no issues. So they're the ones that we test against. And then, in terms of green tea, we haven't seen anything that said it can't drink too many. And the caffeine, without any caffeine levels, you never get that crash or that taste in your mouth. So it's when we do events, it can be up to 10, 11, 12, 13 of Aya during events, and no issues.
Yeah. My husband used to work for a very famous energy drink. I won't say which one, but they used to go at the events. There's only so much caffeine that you can drink, but you need to be obviously seen drinking the product. So after 2 or 3 of these drinks, the team would be kind of putting the water in the can. So they're seen to be drinking, but because you just can't physically can't drink anymore. Right?
So all of the drinks are at these Aya levels. So always have the turmeric and the green tea and the B complex.
Yeah.
And we're the first to calibrate all of those ingredients. So a lot of calibration around vitamins, and to say we're packed full of vitamin B12, and you look and they got 12% of your recommended daily allowance. We're at 200% across the board. And so each of the Aya will have this as a base, and then we'll have another version, much more like Olipop in the States. So a soft drink version where you will have to have 4 of those to reach the functionality of this. It will be much more fruit forward, much more around taste, less on functionality. So more around hydration, more around fun, and that taking, because all the parents, this is kind of Aya Pro, all the parents wanting something for their children. So you don't have anything in the market that's natural. Everything's got sucralose or has artificial sugars like sucralose, or natural sugars like all the alcohol sugars.
Yeah.
And I assume when the research comes out of alcohol sugars in your liver are probably not the greatest thing.
No, absolutely not. I'll have to say I got quite, when I kind of gone on this journey, I do quite like a sodally.
Yeah.
Every now and then. I know it's kind of prebiotic, but knowing that this has got so much more in it that is going to give you those added benefits. For those of you that don't know, Sodally is a prebiotic soda made by Remedy, the kind of kombucha company. They do beautiful flavors, very low calorie, sugar free, caffeine free, I believe. And they're actually really very good. But knowing that this has got all of those additional benefits changes it.
And again, like really low sugars, natural sugars. And if we were to do, the zero sugars, it would be stevia instead of the alcohol sugars or monk fruit. And that's where FDA is involved in that. And California has started already saying there's got to be limits. And even in Thailand, the new labels next year will say you can be sugar and then no added sugar, then saying what was added. So it says alcohol sugars, this sugar, that sugar. So they're breaking down what sweeteners you've put in. So you haven't put sugar in, it says no sugar, but it's sweet as can be. So they have to then register that they put in the sucralose or they put in the alcohol sugars.
Yeah, this is amazing. I honestly, until recently, didn't know Thailand was so on it with this, and it's one of those markets where anything goes generally when you're in Thailand, and so I really didn't expect them to be so strict around it, and I think it's absolutely amazing.
Like here, it's kind of with the Nutrigrade, you're seeing that, and Dark is one of the educators, seeing if you have a great green smoothie, that you were told that's healthy, but it's going to, without food, that's no fiber and 30 grams of sugar hitting you. Yeah. So now everyone's being educated by the menu, kind of look down the menu, A, B's, and C's and D's. Yeah. You realize a Negroni will never be an A, and you might wonder why, and wonder, and that's a great start of the education. Yeah. Unfortunately, it takes out great, healthy, like orange juice and a lot of juices. People vilify it when really, if you have it with food, it's perfect.
It drives me crazy actually, though. So so for those people who maybe are not from Singapore, we have this grading system where soft drinks, for example, will have an A, B, C, or D rating. A being green, 0 sugar, so something like a water, or a tea with no kind of milk or sweetener or anything would be a peppermint tea, let's just say, would be an A. And then you kind of go down to D, which would kind of be your frappuccino with like an extra shot of like caramel or whatever. But the way it works sometimes is that it will give an orange juice like a C because it's kind of based on the sugar content. But then it might give a skimmed latte with a like sugar-free syrup thing that's been added to it to make it taste like caramel and all of this. It will give that a B. So people are then thinking that this kind of processed, caramelly, sugar-free drink is better for you than a glass of orange juice. Yeah. So I think unless you're really educated on it, if you're just taking that at face value, it is not always necessarily giving you the best guidance, and there are ways that people are getting around it. Yeah. And they don't use the grading system on alcohol. Yeah. Which is really annoying.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like, do it on everything.
Yeah. I thought that because I know on the menus they like the hotel was redoing their menu. Yeah. So on the cocktails they have.
The cocktails.
Or maybe they're just doing it just because it's going to be coming sooner or later.
I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah. So just coming back to the functional side of this, what is this? When should people take it? What's it good for? How often should you drink this?
We've really looked at this and building it around that community when we're building the brand and looking at all the ingredients. It starts off in the morning where instead of coffee now is not doing anything for you until you've really woken up your body. So have your coffee 40 minutes up after you've woken up. So you can have this kind of refreshing drink right from the start. And I realized which I can't believe I didn't realize earlier, how your nervous system is so impacted by that early morning coffee, and you're just pushed forward from your kind of homeostasis, nice sleepy state to right away into the panic state. So your parasympathetic nervous system has jumped forward, and your heart rate's up, and all these things are happening that aren't great. And then when it's 50 degrees in in Singapore or Bangkok, you're completely dehydrated. And because it hit 50 degrees, I said, let's cut back on the coffee, and then kind of never look back. I love coffee. If anyone said I still drink coffee and drink a lot, I love the taste, so I just water it down now. But in terms of balancing your nervous system, it's like drink it when you want to keep in balance. And so you're not shooting out, and you keep this kind of that flow state. So, in the morning, replacing the coffee, having this, then for lunchtime, kind of having the water, having this as well. And then afternoon, the drink was really built around that to begin with, of looking at the coffee shops around. There was only Snapple. There was nothing else in these coffee shops. There was barely any kombucha. I don't want a kombucha. I don't want a Snapple. What else is there to drink except a soda water? So that afternoon is a big spot. And then in the evening, because their circadian rhythms are internal, it knows the adaptogens in the drink, and the body knows that it's this time of night that it'll kick in the L-theanine. So you have the green tea with the L-theanine. So it is a drink that can start bringing you down, not to the point where you're going to fall asleep in the daytime, because you still have the circadian rhythms, and that's where more of the B12 is involved. But you can drink throughout the day, and we kind of really purposely built it for that. As it's really how we can enhance. The whole mission is how we can enhance your health. Yeah. And it's not just this part of the day.
Let's come back to flow state, because that's, as a person who values productivity and love it, is I love having those days where I just get loads done, but sometimes find it really hard to get into the flow state. And the flow state is something that I would describe as almost like a concentration a level of concentration where you can't be distracted, or it's harder to be distracted. Yeah. If that makes sense. You're just so into something that you're getting through it and you're powering through it, and it's like everything, the work, the ideas, everything just flows. And
you have the energy for it.
Yeah.
You're not crashing out. And we actually do testing with the EEG headsets. So your kind of megahertz of your brain waves, and your theta waves is your daily activity, and then if there's your different levels of theta, but then going into your beta, then going into theta, and then going into alpha, and testing where you are. So I could be doing a meditation and getting into deep meditative states, into alpha and awake, and then start doing a Q&A. And so you still have this full awareness in the back, and you're spiking as you go back into beta and back in. So that was like the demonstration of what flow state is based on kind of your brain electrode. Yeah, it's incredible.
The Eastern meets Western innovation. I haven't looked at my questions once. Like we've just been kind of going into this, and we've kind of gone just straight into it. But I did want to talk a little bit about kind of that Eastern wisdom meets Western innovation. And you touched on it earlier about kind of the history. These ingredients aren't new. They've been around forever. And then Eastern cultures have been used much more frequently in cooking. But what's so special now? Like what's changed? Maybe kind of on the innovation side.
Yeah, it's really that pharmaceutical, nutraceutical level. So peeling the turmeric, putting it in hot water, smashing the turmeric, putting it in hot water, it tastes awful. It's not getting in your body. Great prebiotic. So this are the highest prebiotics in terms of turmeric and green tea are one of the highest. These two, adaptogen and the green tea polyphenol. But it's not staying in your body to give it the next level of work that the bioactive yellow piece, the curcumin, really does in terms of the anti-inflammation. And that cell protection. And that's where the technology came in, where it's, liposome technology, micellular technology, colloidal technology, where taking the greatness out of the green tea and putting the caffeine away and getting all the goodness and getting the L-theanine, being able to strip what is good. It's curcumin is you have cannabis, cannabinoid, curcuminoid. So you've got different parts of the curcumin. We're still full spectrum. We're just not, it's full spectrum turmeric. So you get the other benefits, but heavy on the curcumin, which is the real bioactive piece. And we're able to increase the bioactivity using Colloidal, and it's all on the QR code on the can, where you can go directly to the ingredient, go to their site and see how they naturally are able to pull this together. And it's encapsulated in fat, smallest amount that doesn't hit calories, but that encapsulation then gets it into your bloodstream. And that's where the super benefits come through. And so you've got kind of Eastern wisdom, heritage of this ingredient, knowing it's good for you, but not knowing which parts are so good for you. Using the whole, then getting the parts that are really good for you and maximizing those, making them so pure and potent that you get to a new level of efficiency and functionality. Which is amazing to be having this now, and it's really sped up since 2019.
I'm honestly sold. I'm like, right, okay, I'm going to order a bunch in.
And taste is the huge one, because when we tried in 2012, you couldn't. And by the extraction of the green tea is so bitter, but we're able to use a small amount, and that last piece of dryness is that kind of green tea taste of the bitterness. It is unbelievably bitter.
Yeah.
And if you steep green tea too much, you'll get there. And then turmeric tastes like dirt. and being able to pull out the bioactive ingredients and then make it taste great, and then make lifestyle instead of a medicinal drink and that's where it gets back to, we're just here to enhance your well-being. Like that's how can we illuminate that. We're always kind of going back to the color and amplify your own health.
Yeah, and they are delicious. So they taste so good. So passion fruit is amazing. What are the other flavors?
Well, just passion fruit, real juice from our passion fruit in northern Thailand. And then because it's sweet and sour, and I was thinking it's going to be 5 grams of sugar, and so we made the can early, as you'll see. It ended up being 3 grams of sugar. Nice. So it came in lower, and that's fantastic. And then of course, any fruit that you can think of in Thailand, be it pineapples, coconuts, could even be guava, they will be coming out with those types of flavors, using what we have, keeping it complete. It's so amazing now. The sustainability angle, because the can is down the road, the can is infinitely recyclable, 360 loop. All the ingredients are coming from down the road, so it's fantastic. That instead of importing all these things, I always think of the brands in the UK and the States, like you were importing it from Asia all the way there, then processing it somewhere, then putting it in the drink, and then shipping it all over America. Yeah. But we get to do it locally, which is fantastic.
Oh, and Thailand have the best passion fruits by miles. Yeah. It's one of my favorite things, like to eat when we're there.
The smell is just incredible. Yeah. And the pineapple, so many different pineapples that I didn't realize. The Phuket tiny ones, the sweetness of some of these things in season is, even the ginger. Yeah. The sweetness, it caramelizes so much that and of course will create major damage in the drink later on, because it just is so sweet. And so seeing different seasons, seeing the different sugar levels at the different seasons, been fantastic. And in the factory, the smell is wow.
I've really loved our conversation today. I feel like we could just keep going, honestly, because there's so much I wanted to talk to you about around purpose-driven business. So I think we might have to do a part 2 when you're next down. I think probably the last question just really is around functional beverages for peak performance. So as someone who has got kind of big fitness goals, I've done well this year. I ran Paris Marathon. I've done High Rocks. I've got Singapore half at the end of the year. But not just peak performance in my physical life, cognitive peak performance as well. As you know, I'm working as a startup at the moment. I've got a podcast. I'm writing a book. There's plenty of things going on where I want to make sure that I'm, as focused as can be. And then also I want to be happy, right? I want my emotional and spiritual well-being to be at peak performance too.
Yeah.
Like, how can functional beverages help in all of those areas?
Such a balance. And it kind of going back to that homeostasis balance where coming from a negative point of view of, alcohol is not making you at peak performance and it's beating you down, your balance. And of course you're below the balance. Maintaining that balance and then allowing you to enhance, to peak different areas. So you've got great energy without the crash. And that's one of the key. And then having the cognitive health of the nootropics, especially if you're jet lagged, the nootropics in this, you feel that buzz. Literally in the back of your neck, you have this incredible, getting into flow state where it tastes great, feels great, and it kind of enlivened you. And then, doing so much research and there's so much out there on hydration, keeping that hydration where we have the liquid, but the B12 doesn't give you hydration, but it's able to maintain the hydration longer. Which again is so important in terms of peak performance. And that's where a drink like this, which does so much, it gives you a lot of that, and then balancing it with all the holistic practices and of course the breath work and the meditation and the mindfulness, and that kind of the mindfulness of awaken your awareness is really about. It's not just the brand name. It's bringing yourself back to being mindful of what you drink, what you do, what your energy, back to those three currencies.
Amazing. I think never did I think or believe 2.5 years ago when I quit alcohol, not only would, this transformation happen, and not only in kind of those areas that we just discussed, everything would level up. I think what I didn't realize, I was just leveling back up to my baseline, and actually my baseline was much higher than I could have ever imagined. But now there are incredible drinks like Aya on the market that are going to be able to push that even higher. I can't believe that I'm like drinking a soda that is good for me. It's so good for me. Because that just kind of blows my mind. And I'm so excited to see like where the functional drink space is going to go. Because could you imagine if like all of our processed food was actually good for us?
Exactly.
It's going to change the world.
For sure.
I love it. Congratulations on an amazing product.
Thank you.
And a wild journey to get here as well.
It's
been incredible. Thank you.
Thank you
So much.
It's always so much fun.
For coming in. And I really do want to do a part 2 with you, because I'd love to just get into your journey, because you've done so much.
I love it, just with the buy one, give one, just being each can giving back to Southeast Asia, and the kids, more kids go to school. It's kind of basic. But we know the guys forever. And we know their overheads to expenditure. We know they run a tight ship, and what they've done over the last 20 years. And of course, there's big companies funding them as well. But in our little part, which will grow and grow, it's going to be super cool to see that and then contribute to that. And it's in my screensaver, because that's kind of my, I don't do this for me,
Having that bigger purpose is huge.
It's really fun.
I'll link to that below. Of course, like with your website and all of your socials. So anyone wants to get in touch, hear more, find out where you can buy Aya. That would be, we'll link to everything below.
Now we got to get the kind of direct distribution. So we got so many things to sort out.
It's going to happen.
I'm
going to see it everywhere. So look, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Such an incredible conversation.
It was super fun.
And thank you for just, sharing some of your wisdom and insights and your passion. It's very clear with us today.
Same, yours too.
I know our listeners are going to be really inspired by your story and hopefully your product get to trying it and see how it makes you feel for yourself as well. So I hope everyone enjoyed this episode, and like I said, I'll link to everything with Kevin below. If you're ready to unlock your potential and fuel your upward spiral, be sure to check out Aya Drinks and explore the amazing benefits of functional beverages. And please don't forget to subscribe to the Upward Spiral podcast so you don't miss out on any of our up and coming episodes. We've got incredible guests lined up and I can't wait to share their stories and insights with you. If you enjoyed this episode, please do leave us a review and share it with your friends. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, keep spiraling upwards. I'm still working on that line. I don't know if it's going to stick. And I say this every time I say it because it just makes me cringe. But we're going to keep going.